Hi, in this video I'll show you how to create labels in Sparklines. Sparklines are like little mini charts that you can put in cells. So if you've worked with Sparklines before, you'll notice that they look neat, but there's some limited capability in putting together an x-axis and a y-axis, maybe a label. And here are some examples of what we can do to create some sort of x-axis labels. Right here we have months, and then here we have months in numbers, or this could be time when you think about it. And that's our x-axis, and we have our horizontal axis with the numbers here. Another way that we can create labels is kind of like a chart title. You notice that it looks like there's a chart title in here, and we have our y-axis, basically our low and highs. So I'll show you how to create these samples. I got this idea from an article I read that was created by Bill Jelen, Mr. Excel. So all props to him. He's a great resource. So anytime you want to look up Excel tips, Google Mr. Excel, Bill Jelen, and you'll probably get it. So let's get into how we create this. So for my first example, I'm going to create that 3-panel chart. And I'll just click in one of these cells and create them separately. You can create them as a group, but I like to prefer to create them separately, so any kind of configuration I do is on each separate spark line. So let's create my spark lines. I'll just click on any cell here. Let's click a little bit lower. Let's do that one. And go to Insert. I'm going to click a column spark line. Data range, this will be for Team A. Press Enter. And do the same for Team B. Insert, column, my data range here. Press Enter. And the last one here, Insert, column, and select that. Press Enter. So I have my sparklines, my column sparklines. How do I get the Jan, Feb to December there? I'm just going to type in the first letter of each month and separate it by a space. So it's going to be J, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and then space December. Press Enter. Now that looks pretty wide. Let's double click that to fit that in, and it fits in kind of nicely, right? But what we want to do is put that into a font that is evenly spaced. Now, a good font that's evenly spaced is the Courier font. Select that particular cell and look for Courier. Courier is right here, right? And then double click that, or I could probably reduce the size of that a little bit and then double click, and it pretty much looks like it fits in place. Even if I reduce the size here, let's make this maybe 125 pixels and reduce that. That looks a little bit too small. Well, 8 font is probably good enough. Let me double click here and have that. That looks like it's pretty good. So 8 size font, and just reduce the size here. I can do the same for my other values here. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and then Control V to paste. Select these two, double click to auto fit, and it seems to have auto fit for both the or actually the largest of these cells, which is probably these letterings, and it's kind of auto fit it kind of nicely. We see it's a little bit off, but not too much, right? So we have our months here that indicate the values for each month. How do we get the X and Y axis? In this instance, I know that my lowest is probably going to be 0 and my highest is going to be nothing over 100. So what I can do is just type 100 and use a couple line spacings. Alt, Enter, 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 maybe 3, and then type 0 and press Enter. Let's see how that worked out. So actually it worked out kind of nicely. And all I need to do now is just align it to the left. And I have my my y-axis, right? And the rest of it is just putting in the references to the team. So I'll reference this cell here, press enter, it'll reference team A, and I'll just pull this over. Since these are relative cell references, it'll pull in the appropriate cell reference. See, that now becomes C1 and this one becomes D1. Let's center this and then make it look nice, maybe a little border, and we have our Sparkline chart for with labels. And put a border here too, and get rid of the labels here. All right. So now we have a nice little Sparkline chart, and it also has labels. So this would be good if you wanted to put into a dashboard. We'd have our values here in one sheet, and maybe this particular visualization is on another worksheet or another tab. So that's how you create it if we had those values there, the letters that indicate months. So what if we had numbers? If we had these numbers, it's almost the same thing. Let me put this together and you'll see that there is a little bit difference that we need to do. So I'm going to select this cell and go to insert, and we'll do a column. Data range is team A here. Press enter, and let me go to this cell, go to insert, team B, press enter. Oops, forgot to get the column here. And then so is C2 to C13. My location range is here. Click OK. And that was actually probably easier to do it that way. Select this, go to insert, column, and my location range is here. Click OK. Right? And if I wanted to do the earlier way that I showed you, press 1, space 2, space 3, space 4, space 5, space 6, space 7, space 8, space 9, space 10, space 11, and then space 12, you notice it's a little bit challenging. If I double click that, it's still a little bit off. 12 is kind of in between these two. Even if I made the font Courier and made it smaller, let's see, I think it was down to 8. Maybe even make it even smaller. I can't even make it smaller than 8. Right? I probably could, but it's not going to be too good to look at. Press enter. You notice that it just doesn't look right. Let's stick with the default that it stops at, which was 8. The workaround to this is to change the alignment. But in order to change the alignment and make it look right, we're going to have to do a carriage return instead of a space. So in this, what we do is type 1, press Alt Enter, 2, Alt Enter, 3, Alt Enter, and it looks like it disappeared, but if I click the drop down here, you notice that it just is putting a line space here. So I'll do 4, Alt Enter, 5, Alt Enter 6, Alt Enter 7, Alt Enter 8, Alt Enter 9, Alt Enter 10, oops, get rid of that, 98, Alt Enter 11, Alt Enter, and 12. Press enter, and it looks like it didn't do anything, right? Well, we have to change the alignment. So what we're going to do is change the alignment to have it like that. And make sure word wrap text is turned on. Let's minimize this. Now we double click, and now it looks like it's done it really well. Let's align this to the top too, right? So it looks like it's hugging the border there. So we have our 1 to 12, and it fits it a little bit better. Let me double click that. It fits it a little bit better than before, right? So all I need to do is Control C to copy, Control V to paste, Control V to paste. As I did before, we have our 100, which is our upper range for the y-axis. Alt Enter, Enter, Enter. I think that was 3 times. Put a 0 there. Press Enter, and align it over here. Type equals, scroll up here, team A, press enter, and let's move this over here and then center it, and then make some borders here, and then we have our little spark line that also incorporates numbers for the x-axis. All right, it makes it look a little bit better. Let's do under view and get rid of the grid lines, and you see how it looks. So it's kind of a nicer view here, right? So we have our data here. We can also put this into another tab. We have our data in one tab, and then we have our visualization in another tab. And this could be a nice little dashboard chart. The third example now is when we get into the stocks, right? So we have these stocks, and we want to make a line chart and make it almost look like there's a title and there's a low and high, and it's kind of arbitrary now. Not arbitrary, but now we can't really put 0 to 100. We have to kind of figure out what's the low and high for that range. So let's see how we do that. I'm going to select Amazon here, the Amazon range here, go to Insert. Let's go to my line chart, and let's put one here. Press Enter. I'll click OK. And I'm going to leave some space here. I'm going to leave extra space here. That's going to be Amazon. This one will be Google. Select that. Go to Insert, and then Line. And my range is my data range is C12, right? And my location is going to be here in G22. Click OK. And now let's get Apple. Select that. Go to Insert, Line. My location will be, I'll skip that and put one over here. All right, click OK. And now we have our line chart. So it doesn't look really too impressive right now, but what we can do is make it a little bit bigger. So the first thing we need to do is to get that label there. We don't really need I'm not going to put an x-axis label here, and I'm going to use a title, one title to kind of represent the date range. But I need to look at a low and high. So to get the low or out of the data, it's going to be or actually, I'm going to start with the high. To get the max out of a data, you need to use the max function. So I would use the max function and select this range. It's going to find the highest data value here, which is 1254, right? This last one here. If I wanted to look at the lowest data range, that would be a min function. So if I delete that and type in min, that would be the minimum. And the minimum is going to be 845, which is this value here. So how do I get that into one cell? What we can do is we can kind of combine everything together. So I'm going to take max. I shouldn't have deleted it. I'll just select it again. I have a max of that, and it's going to bring it back, but it's going to bring back a number. So I want to have the max of that number. I want to append it to a function that's going to create some extra spaces. So a function that will create extra spaces, or in this case line spaces, is going to be the char function. So this is the character function that returns ASCII character. So the character number for an line feed or extra like a carriage return is character 10, and I want to have that repeat actually. So I want to repeat this. I want to put this into a function called repeat. Right? I want to repeat it a couple times, because if I just put that, it's just going to create one character return. So the repeat function is rept, and it's going to repeat this particular text, this line, this carriage return. I want to repeat it. I think in this instance I'm going to have to repeat it 5 times. Right? So that closes that function. So it's going to have the max. It's going to figure out the max of this value. Then it will repeat a line carriage return 5 times, and then I want to append it to a min function. So that's going to show up at the bottom. So the min function, press tab to have that open. I want to select this data value and close it with the quote parentheses, and press enter, and you'll notice that it looks like it did it, but really didn't do it. So what it did is it basically just appended everything together. What I really wanted to have this thing do is turn these numbers into text, right? And then have it appended. So what I want to do is I want to wrap this into a function called text. And it's going to turn that value, this max of that value, into a text function. So it's going to ask for the value, which is this, and what format do I want it? And the format that I want it in, I'm just going to put it in 0. So I don't want the decimal. I can just put a 0 here and then a quote. And that's going to have a saving place and put any of the numbers that are before the decimal. Close parentheses, and it will follow the repeat. I want to do the same thing here for the min, because I want to turn the value that came back from that from a value, numerical value, into text. So I'm going to also use the text function. So the text function here, the value is going to bring back is the lowest number of that range, and I'm going to have it in quotes. I just want a 0 and press close parentheses, press enter. So it looks like it's almost there, right? We have our 1254 here, and we have an 845 here, which is our minimum here. And what we need to do is we also have to word wrap it. So if I click on word wrap, now you notice that it's separated out because now it's recognized the line feeds here. Let's align that to the right, and let's copy this particular formula also to the other areas here. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Scroll down a little bit, and then Control V to paste here also. But the cell references I need to change, right? So this needs to point to the Google one, and that one needs to point to the let's see, Apple one, right? And that's going to be column C. So let's change this to column C. Oh, and also we don't need up to B16. Let's change that. That's one that became B14, B2, B14. Oh, I see what happened. Let's change that. Basically, when I copied it, it offset it. So let's take this and just move, or just change, or just move this particular box over here, right? And the same thing for the minimum here. Take the minimum and move it over here. Now press enter. Now we have our high of 1106, which is this one, and our low of 823, which is probably the beginning of the year, that one. Sorry, that's Google. Now do the same for Apple. Let's change that. Let's move that. Let's move that to Apple here, and then click on the minimum, which is this red border, and move that over there. Press enter, and now we have our minimum and maximum. Let's delete a couple of these, make it easier to read. Select that, right click, and delete. Let's see if we can scroll up and see everything. No, but we'll scroll down later on. So how do we get that label in for each of these? In essence, all you need to do is just type in the name. So if I click on that cell and I type Amazon, it's going to have it in there. Do the same thing for here for Google, G-O-G. It's going to have it in there, and also for Apple, AAPL, right? Now all I need to do is just adjust the alignment. I'm going to multi-select all of this. Control button and just a left mouse click, and have that aligned to the top and aligned to the center, and it looks like a title now, right? So that looks pretty good. And maybe for an overall chart section title, I'll just say from, let's do caps lock, from Jan 2017 to, or Feb 2017 to Jan 2018, right? And then select this, press Control key to multi-select, right? Selecting discontiguous cells by using the Control key and left mouse key to select, and just click on the border box. I have my borders there. I can change this to center and give it some color to make it look a little bit nicer. Let's change the shading to orange, and multi-select, press control and select, multi-select. Maybe make these a little bit smaller, right? Maybe about 20 or 15 pixels, or maybe actually 10 pixels would do, right? So everything's kind of reduced now. And if I do view and get rid of grid lines, now you notice I've got my little star chart, right? My low here, my high there, and it kind of looks like it references the lows and highs of the year, or the lowest and the highest point of the year for each of the individual stocks. So this is something else that you can create, and you can reference it and put it into another worksheet. It could be part of your dashboard. You'll have the data in one sheet, and you'll have the visualization in another sheet. So that's how we can put some sort of labeling in a Sparkline. Sparklines don't really have a capability to put labels, X or Y labels, or a title, but we can get around that by using these type of workarounds. So I hope that helped. Thanks for watching.